If you've lived in St. Thomas for any amount of time, you've probably been here. You've met friends for dinner or taken an art class or even seen some live music. Welcome to Tillett Gardens. Walking through the eclectic collection of art, lush garden, and stepping over any number of sleeping animals, you have to ask yourself, what is this place? Who better to answer that question than someone who's been here since the beginning?
My parents were originally, after they got married in New York, and we're going to actually go to Vietnam to set up a silkscreen facility for the government. And right about that time, Vietnam got a little dicey, so they ended up not going. They went over to Puerto Rico to visit some friends that were over there. And then they had another friend that was on St. Thomas, and they came over here, and they decided they liked it here better and ended up buying the piece of property in the valley. At the time, property was quite cheap in the 1950s. Like where the Marriott is was like $60,000. Where the Ritz is was like $60,000. And then this place was like $20,000. So, but he was more concerned about surviving storms and whatnot than having a view. So we ended up in the valley. When my parents bought the place in 1959, this valley, there was nothing in the valley. Like, there was just a dirt road out front, and it was a big, it was mostly a cattle farm. And so all that was here was the silo, and then the first floor of one of the buildings, and a small part of the house that we ended up living in, fixing up and living in for, many decades. It kind of just evolved. I mean, originally it was basically our home and my father's business, which was producing textiles, and then my mother's business, which was selling the textiles that my father was creating. So it was basically at one point just our house, the textile production facility, and the dress shop. And then as my dad kept adding stuff, he mostly just added apartments, residential. So basically it was commercial stuff on the bottom floor, and then the top floors were apartments for people. My father, he was different. He was English, and he lived in Tahiti, England, Tahiti, Mexico, and here. He wasn't, he was a little different. And my mother was clearly different, Jewish from New York and ends up marrying some crazy artists and coming down in the Caribbean. And no real trees. I mean, it was a cattle farm, so it was just pasture land all up in here. So my father planted all the large trees you see in here today. And he also wanted to have a source for water. He decided to come in the valley and drill a well, and that's one of the reasons why there's so much landscaping in here that's so mature. These large mahogany trees and all the large trees in here that he planted in the early 60s all matured very well, because just 12 feet below where we are right now, there's a big water table. So the roots go down there and can grow some nice trees. We have a big almond tree here that drops a whole lot of almonds that we feed the birds with. Got a bamboo grove going here. There's 3 of them on the property. When Irma hit, it was really something else, because Irma was a category 5, and then 12 days later was Maria, which was another category 5, and basically the whole place got tore apart, and it was a long time putting it back together. It's been like 4 years now. Past 10 years had storms and category 5 hurricanes, 2 of them, and a pandemic. So yeah, it's not easy. Go up this tree and you see there's a piece of metal stuck in the side of the tree up there. Yep. You see it? I do. That's from Irma, yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. We had to bring in all the cats and all the birds, so it's like 20 cats and 10 birds all piled in, and some people had left, but there was probably about 10 or 15 of us here in the garden, or 10 or 15 of us, and all these cats and birds all hunkered down for it. It was crazy. It was insane. I mean, it just sounds like a big freaking freight train, you know, it's just like, it's just crazy. And then you look outside and it's just freaking, you know, just wind blowing everywhere, trees falling down. It was crazy. Now, that entire roof over there, okay, where that sun is, that was a galvanized roof. So it was plywood, then purlins, and then galvanized. Well, the galvanized and the purlins all came off the plywood, and about 1/3 of the plywood. So only about 2/3 of the plywood was up, but it just came up, and was in the yard. So like, there's trees, and there was a huge tree in here that came down, was in the middle. It was like 15 feet of debris in here, and that whole roof with all the wood, and it was just crazy. Oh my God. It took 3 days just to cut ourselves to get out to the parking lot. Dude, it was like fucking Armageddon. Right after Maria passed through, even before Maria hit us, we were starting to collect plywood and, you know, get everything starting to put back together. Myself and a guy named Doug were up on the roof a lot for several months. All this wood around the restaurants, this bar and all that, the whole bar and everything, that's all Greenheart that I recycled out of Yacht Haven Grand. They had these underneath the docks to hold the cables, and they decided to replace them with plastic. Here, you sit here and you're like, yeah, we're in St. Thomas, or we're in some kind of funkadelic Caribbean thing, you know. You know how many people I've been out there and stand there, and people go to me, I'll be standing there and a tourist or someone will go, what is this place? You know, they're just like looking around, they can't figure out what it is. Like, what is this place? And I just look at it and I go, It's like whatever you want it to be, you know. Just enjoy yourself. You know, coming in the garden, it's kind of like snorkeling, okay? Like, it's different you could go the same spot, and it's different every time you go. There's different fish, there's different this, there's different that. And in the garden, it's the same way. You know, you come one day and one thing's going on, another day another thing's going on. It's different all the time. And also, if you snorkel and you go fast, if you just like snorkel with fins on and you're just, you know, going fast over the reef, you don't see, you know, half of what's going on. Same thing with the garden. You just walk through real quick, you don't really see what's going on. It's like snorkeling. You got to go slow and appreciate it. You know?